This podcast contains some magical adult language. Listener discretion is advised. And sorry, Mom.
I'm going to Disney World. I'm going to...
Whoa. You are not Mickey Mouse. You are a rat.
Rats, man. Besides, they're tourists. What do they know?
Welcome to Rat Castle, a progressive chat about Disney magic without the pixie dust. I am Nathan Hartman, and with me tonight are two of the finest rats in all the land. We have Janine. Hello, Janine.
Hello, I am here at the appropriate time.
Yes. For those who don't know, we usually record this on Thursday nights, but tonight we were recording Friday because Dave had something going on Thursday. Hello, Dave.
Hi.
And because of that, I get a text last night at about 8:45. Where's the agenda? And I said, well, here's the agenda. And I sent it to Janine, and then she texts me at like, I don't know, 9:10. She goes, where's the Zoom link? And I'm like, Zoom link? I was like, oh, honey child, it's tomorrow. Does me the sad photo of her sitting all prepared. She looks like a kid that's ready to go to school, but it's still Sunday. You know, it's like, I'm ready. I'm excited. But we're gonna bring that energy. She has stayed in her seat for the last 23 hours as I requested. So she is thoroughly any questions we might have about the news material, I'm sure Janine has us covered for sure. So we're gonna try to have some energy here tonight. I think we've all kind of said we're kind of down tonight. This is my last week of teaching in Florida, and then I have finals, but that doesn't count. And Janine's almost done with school.
Almost done.
Almost. She
Forever, unless someone.
Say Guten Abend to what's goodbye in to German.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen. That's right. She can say Auf Wiedersehen to German forever.
Yeah.
She's going to forget it as quickly as she possibly can.
Would have to have learned it first.
That's true. That's true. No cruise on the Rhine for Janine. So we are going to get into it. Speaking of Germany, a different sort of fascist has been making some news. So we probably should talk about that. So let's talk about that fascist, shall we?
Herr DeSantis.
Herr DeSantis. And I gave it too much. We both gave it too much Latin flair.
I'm trying to get that hair.
Yeah, we got we got too like Castro with it. It was wrong. We got to go like as I've been calling him President Pudding Cups. So President Pudding Cups.
Good old pudding paws.
All pudding paws. Anyway, he had his, in Orlando, we have a couple things that are regular. We have rainstorms, we have tourists, and we have this bitch once a week coming out and saying shit. So this week he came out and said certain things about Disney once again. He said that so he had this press conference, and then he said that there's lots of issues with Disney and how they report things publicly and yada yada yada, and trying to make a big stink. And he said that they're not paying Disney is not paying their fair share of taxes. Of course, Disney then reminded news outlets that they in fact pay over $1 billion in state and local taxes. And they are the largest single taxpayer in Central Florida. Now, I'm not saying that they probably couldn't pay more, but they're certainly not, schluffing. Though at the same time, he said that the land at Disney is probably undervalued. The quote here says, the governor has suggested that most people facing this scenario, having their own land to determine value, would significantly undervalue the property to improve their tax situation. I think he's talking about Trump. You're confusing Mar-a-Lago for Disney. But and also, what kind of properties do you own, Ron? I'd like to take a look. So he is having the Central Florida, I should say it like this, the Central Florida Tourism Oversight Board. They are going to take a look at that. He wants them to look at all of the values of land appraisal. So of course Disney said, well, we don't do that. That's the Orange County tax assessor. That does that. So
I love that they just like quietly swatted down everything he said one by one.
It's like when you have a drunk friend at a party and they're just very mad about nothing, and you're like, well, hold on, and you just kind of like just slowly bringing them down or trying to.
Same energy.
But did he look at you wrong? Did he?
Are you sure? So
have a seat, buddy. Have a seat, buddy. Let us get you some water.
Yeah, let's get you some water. Oh shit! He threw up in the bush. Okay.
Damn it.
Funny story. I've only ever thrown up once from liquor. Wow. I decided to have a vodka drinking contest with a Russian.
Oh,
it's bad. I did not win, but it was a very pleasant experience, I should say. I was, I think I was like laying my head on one of my friends. Like we had a couple, we were like, I hung out with theater majors and stuff. This was actually after college, but they all sort of stuck around because theater majors. And and there was a couple that sort of were the mothers, right? And so she sort of was taking care of me. And then I said, I think I'm going to go outside and throw up. She goes, oh, okay. And so I walked outside of my front door, turned to the right because it overhung into the bushes. And I just opened my mouth and things came out. And then I turned around and there was a glass of water for me. And I said, I think I'm going to go to bed. And she goes, okay. Oh. And it was the simplest, I threw up just one little time. And I just was like, I feel nice. I'm going to bed.
Those are good friends.
Yeah, it was a good experience for me. It was a good experience.
Those are good friends.
Much more than some other circumstances I've seen. Though the stories I could tell. So anyway, on that random, what was I even fucking talking about? Anyway.
DeSantis.
Oh yeah. Well, anyway, he also believes that there could be safety concerns. So he wants the state to look at the monorails and all the attractions and make sure there's no issues. Now, hold on a sec, because that's fine. You can you can let the monorail probably time. Windows fall out of that thing. Yeah, that's fine.
The doors, just don't lean against the doors.
Yeah, just don't. Yeah.
Don't trust it.
So, I don't disagree necessarily with safety precautions. But at the same time, of course, we know what he's trying to do. And also, he made it very clear that this is not for all theme parks. It's not for SeaWorld or for Universal. It is just specific theme parks in specific districts, which is, geez, man. Can you just say what you want to say,
Yeah.
And then, of course, he also complained that there was no affordable housing, even though, of course, Disney is currently building affordable housing, 1,300 units.
Also, since when do they actually give a fuck about affordable housing anywhere else in the state?
Yeah, right.
They just passed a law to allow landlords to fleece renters on security payments. So shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And as far as safety, there already is government oversight that they for the last 20 years or so, there's something called the Memorandum of Understanding that was drafted with the state of Florida and all the parks. And it's just how they report injuries, how they're followed up on, and how they get investigated. And then it also is site visits and consultation and reviews of the safety programs. They're not the wild, but they're not doing this on their own. Disney's not dumb. They don't want people to get hurt. Come on.
Also, Memorandum of Understanding is my favorite Isaac Asimov book. So he also, this was the press conference. He sort of did a side little thing and was like, some people think I should build a little state prison on some property there, which is why would you even say that? Because if you did do that, no one's gonna blame Disney. It's not Disney's fault that you build a prison next to Disney.
It
How do you win an election
polls
this way?
well in the primary, and we're not thinking past the primary.
Yeah.
Oh, it polls so well in the primary that he's lost all of his small donors in the last week.
Yeah.
Because
At this
they're
point,
like, "Mm,
at this point, he's like the quarterback in an 80s movie who's also the villain bully. You
yeah,
know, like
he's somehow, I don't know. I think that's giving him too much athletic prowess. I think he's far, far more the guy who got dunked into the toilet in college and then became the dean. That's the guy, right? He's I don't know, Gamma House, like that's him.
Yeah, same energy.
Yeah, same energy. So, oh, okay. So we then, of course, had another Reedy Creek thing happen. DeSantis had his little press conference, and then the Reedy Creek board, got together and they fired the planning board. So basically, the Reedy Creek Improvement District is what has been in place. And the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District Board of Supervisors, good God, find a better name, people. They unanimously voted to terminate the Planning and Zoning Board inside of that, what used to be the Improvement District. And that, of course, has term limits, but they nixed those term limits as well because they're basically attaching it to their own term limits, which I think is it 4 years? No, it's 2 years. They can run 3 times. Let's see here.
I think 4 years, and then they can run 3 terms consecutively.
I think that's correct. Yes. I was looking for it here. So anyway, it'll be very interesting to see what happens when DeSantis is no longer around and there's a Democrat in, and like they're just going to be like, hey, and we're going to forget all about this. They're going to have one meeting and go back to normal.
Everything back to where it was, right?
Yeah.
It's very aspirational of you to imagine there might ever be a Democrat in power.
Oh, in Florida?
In Florida.
Well, I am going to Maryland. After all of this kerfuffle, we have another piece of news here where the let's see, the senator from North Carolina, this would be Michael Garrett, has introduced a bill in the North Carolina State Senate called Mickey's Freedom Restoration Act, which basically just aims to attract theme park businesses to North Carolina. They're basically just saying, like, sloppy seconds, we'll take it. They're just very happy, whatever they can get. They're very thrilled.
Yeah.
So it's let's see, the bill establishes the 11-member North Carolina Family Amusement Park Study Commission. You guys have got to work on your names. All you
I know.
politics people have got to acronyms. I know you know. Okay. With the purpose to develop strategies that encourage family amusement parks. Okay, that's cool. I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah. I mean, let's just nip it right in the bud that it is not feasible for Disney to move everything.
I cannot believe the number of people who are still entertaining that idea.
That's not how any of this works.
Like, you've never been to Disney, have you? You don't know what this is. That's like might as well be asking New York City to relocate. Like,
yeah, 40 square miles, people, lots of infrastructure. It's not going to happen.
I will say this: it is really fun to think about, though.
Oh yeah,
like just the idea of. I just like this idea of Iger hitting a button and just like all of the buildings exploding all at once, right? And then it's just like, we're gone. And like, what happens to Florida then? Like, at that point, DeSantis is like, I don't know, trading in like interns for bullets. Like it becomes Mad Max almost immediately. Like,
yeah.
There is no state at that point.
And I love that North Carolina next door is just being super opportunistic, right? Because capitalism, like, hey, bring your dollars here. Well, and I worked out in North Carolina when I was working for Paramount Parks because they owned Carowinds, and it's a beautiful state, and that park's lovely, and I love going to the Outer Banks. North Carolina is lovely. Like, sure, other park developers, get on it because there's land there, and it's close to everything, and you would get a lot of the same tourists that go down to Florida could go there. Yeah,
I completely agree. As what I've said is I'm more than happy for Disney to do this. It works completely for me. It's closer to Maryland. It doesn't bother me at all. Whatever they want to do. So anyway, congrats to North Carolina. Maybe you'll have at least a board, which will be fun. And, anything that gets possible theme park business, I'm all about. So we are moving on from the bitch fest that is Ron DeSantis to kind of one more resort related piece of news for Walt Disney World, which is 350 new DVC cabins are coming to Disney's Fort Wilderness. So these are going to be replacing the old cabins. They are going to be completely new. I think they're going to be more expensive. I think we already know that.
Yeah.
DVC. I'm trying to remember. DVC doesn't currently run the cabins, do they? Or do they run some of them?
I think there's at least some vacation club presence in Fort Wilderness.
Yeah, because I thought so. I thought there was some, but maybe it's going to be all now. It's probably all anyway, but no matter what you look at it, they're going to make it more expensive. So they released.
Actually, it says it's. No, I think it's new. Actually, I'm wrong. I don't think they're, because it says like would be the 17th DVC resort.
Okay, so it's now a new DVC resort, which of course is not a surprise to me, because the thing about DVC is they always have to have new resorts to make it work. And they would probably go, well, what is the thing that the poorest people that come here, where do they go? And they're like, oh, well, they take the cabins in the Fort Wilderness area. Okay, well, let's not have that anymore. That's silly. Rich people only, please. So
why should we charge $125 a night when we could be charging $1,025 a night?
Yeah.
Most
it's
of
not DVC, but
right.
Most of the conversation I saw online about this is just people hating on how they look, and
I hate how they look, and I've been sitting here like waiting.
I know. I will. I'm gonna not disagree with you, but I will say they are on trend for what people want.
My beef is not with the aesthetics.
Okay,
interesting.
With what?
It looks to me like they're like heavily glass based.
Oh, just the clerestory. They're clerestory windows up top.
Okay. Never mind that. I don't have as much of an issue. For some reason, I thought that the side panels were glass. And
no.
Like
They're
that. Yeah. Okay. I have less of an issue with it.
There's windows in from the balcony entry,
yeah.
but it looks like the bedrooms are completely walled in, and with upper clerestory windows, which in an environment like that will actually work really well and be lovely. Like, I understand why people hate it. They want something super themey, but to be honest, that's not what most people, especially DVC club members.
Well, yeah, DVC especially, yeah.
They want something that is on par with other resort hotels around the world, so they want something a little nicer. I don't think they look out of place. They look like modern cabins that I've seen built here in Big Bear. Like it's on trend with what those are. Agree. However, I think the treehouse villas are amazing. Like, those are adorable and weird over at Sarasota Springs. So it's like I think they rhyme with that from a design perspective. So I'm not offended by them, but I think my bigger issue is like, okay, yeah, these used to be the low income option.
Yeah.
And now they're not going to have that,
No, they're not. It's
going to ruin a lot of people's traditions, because I think it's probably like a lot of the same people.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. There's been families that have gotten one of these cabins, every year.
Are there still RV spaces in Fort Wilderness? So you can still bring an RV. I think that's what'll happen, is that they'll grow that business a little. DVC can't take that over.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I agree with you in the sense that it's like, if I had to have a cabin, I certainly wouldn't want one that looks like this. I would want something more themed.
Themey, right? But and that's right.
But if I went to an Airbnb that looked like this, I would say, "Oh, this is nice." Like,
right. So, and that's the problem, is that's who they're competing with. Everybody thinks all this new architecture, they're cheaping out because there's no theming. I'm like, first of all, they're spending the same amount on materials and build out and interiors that they would have on a themed environment. Trust me on this. That's just, Disney doesn't cheap out on these things. They all cost about the same because of soft costs of design alone, right?
Yeah.
And that's just a taste level thing, and its tastes have changed, and they're not competing with unthemed hotels. They're competing with Airbnb. Yeah. And people being able to get a beautiful house. It's more, I think DVC especially, but even the hotels in a certain way are aspirational for what the kind of thing people would want to live in. And I don't think people want to live in a castle or a log cabin.
Right.
And so you might, and I actually have a friend who lives in a log cabin in Big Bear, and it's gorgeous, but it's modern enough that it doesn't feel like that. And I think there's a fine line there with theming and comfort when it comes to, like, I understand why people don't like this, and people can have their opinion. I don't disagree with their opinion. I just think from a professional standpoint, I look at it and go, nope, that looks about right. What people want right now.
You've seen these in the flesh. These look very, at least the concept art, which again, I hate using concept art for any reference, but it looks very modular. Are these coming in on a semi?
I bet you they're all pre-built, which people which nowadays people will, criticize. And it's like, well, no. The Contemporary was built that way too. Don't let us not forget,
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's so crazy. I of course remembered that, but it's so bad.
I did not. That's a new fact for me.
The Contemporary was built as a giant A-frame concrete structure, and the rooms were built off-site and slid in like shoeboxes.
What?
Yeah. And no one has ever built a hotel like that ever again.
Yeah, because it was a nightmare.
It was a nightmare. Like, it sounds innovative, but it was just a hassle. And so, but beyond that, a lot of small housing, and look at the tiny home movement. You don't build a custom tiny home. You buy one and decorate it and paint it the way you want it. That's what this is. It's a tiny home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That holds 7. But, a snug 7. We are going to head on over here to Animal Kingdom, because after you've heard this on Monday, and tomorrow for us, it's Earth Day. And Earth Day, of course, is the 25th anniversary for my favorite North American theme park, Animal Kingdom. So we're going to do a little reflection on just our thoughts on Animal Kingdom, what we like about it, that sort of stuff. Janine, you want to start us off? What are your thoughts about Animal Kingdom hitting 25?
I have some thoughts, namely that I was about my son's age when Animal Kingdom opened, and we went opening weekend, and that it bothers me that was 25 years ago. That's the big blaring. That's alarming.
Get off my lawn.
I don't love that, but it is very cool to, like, we went opening weekend. The dinosaur Countdown to Extinction was the dinosaur, that movie themed still, and like that was just such a moment. That's so weird to me that franchise has evaporated from existence. No,
but
it
was
doesn't,
one movie.
It doesn't exist anymore. And you can see Aladar.
Mm-hmm.
Aladar in
why do I have that knowledge?
The dinosaur ride, the Countdown to Extinction ride. And that's it.
Yeah,
it's just weird.
Well, they actually changed. I mean, it's funny. It opened as Countdown to Extinction, and then they changed it to Dinosaur to match the movie. Right. And but no, that's not
what is it now? Because I get it all.
It's Dinosaur now.
It's just Dinosaur.
It's just called Dinosaur.
Oh,
it's fast. It's fast. It's a blast. It's in the past.
Yeah, it's in the past. Yeah.
Oh my God! Thank you, Dave.
That's the
wow,
slogan.
That makes a lot of sense. I was 9 when we went, and so I have some vague recollection of, because that's the year that Islands of Adventure opened, and we went to opening weekend for that too.
Oh man, that's a rough, like, Animal Kingdom back then compared to Islands. Ooh.
Yeah, so like it makes kind of a bit of sense that I'm like, I don't super remember being there. I don't have a ton of memories of what was open and what wasn't, but it's my favorite park.
Yeah, girl.
It is my favorite of the Disney parks down there for sure. I love it. I love it. It's and it's really become so beautiful. But you can see the DNA of that even at opening, even though there wasn't a lot to do yet.
Yeah. Might be another reason why I don't super remember it, because probably 9-year-old me was like, the fuck is this?
Yeah. No, totally.
Where are the rides? Yeah. I mean, I was living down there, working down there at the time, and I went pre-opening. I went to a friend's Imagineering.
Of course you did.
Of course. And it was fun, but like my takeaway was going through the safari, and they still had the big dead elephant at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that.
And I literally got off and looked at my friend like, you're taking that out, right? And they're like, no, it teaches a very important, you're taking that out. You can't do that. You can't make me love an animal by showing it dead. Like, I understand the impulse of why they put it there. I actually talked with friends that worked on that thing, and it's like, yeah, but cooler heads prevailed before opening, and that's why it was taken out, because it was traumatic. It was not a good way to
That's
like
wild.
ending on gunfire and escaping poachers that are shooting at you. Like, that doesn't leave me with the war. Yes. That part was taken out too.
No, I remember that though.
It was there for a little bit.
It was that was there for a while and then taken out later.
Okay,
yeah.
I do remember that.
It was a gradual, dissolve of the entire Big Red, Little Red situation.
Yes,
because Little Red was there in the truck for a while.
Yeah.
My favorite moment of that, though, and this is where Animal Kingdom really, like, I got it, and it was on the safari. There's a certain point where all the guides are like, you're looking for the elephants, basically, and the guide says something like, I'm gonna get off the mic for a while and tune in, and they supposedly turn on the radio, and it plays this African radio station and this very cool music.
Oh, I remember that.
And they don't do it anymore, but the first time I did it and that happened, we turned the corner and there are the elephants, and it was like, oh my God, they added a musical reveal of that moment. I got goosebumps. It was a really good moment. But I think that park has become has settled into its DNA and legacy now that wasn't there in '98.
Well, for me, it's interesting because it's like the trees themselves grew into it. Like, that whole park needed to get older. It needed to fill out aesthetically, and it has. I went back in college. We did was my girlfriend at the time was working as a cast member in the college program, and I came for spring break, and we did Animal Kingdom in the morning and Studios in the afternoon. We did them both because you pretty much could do Animal Kingdom, even with, at that time, Everest was open, and Camp Mini Mickey. You still could pretty much do it in a half day if you really wanted to. And so I left, and I was like, oh, easily the worst of the four. I was like, no question. And then after moving here and being around and, having, excuse me, I'm getting emotional. No, having 5 years here to just enjoy it and just be there. There's a thing about that park that calls you to be present with it. That none of the other parks do.
Totally agreed. It's a lean forward experience.
Yeah.
You get out of it what you sort of are curious about.
Yeah, totally. If you stop and you sit at Drinkwalla and you look out at the lake or the river there, and you just kind of look at the custom paint job on the side of the building, and you're like, geez Louise, this place is gorgeous.
It is Disney's slowest park in a good way.
Right? Yeah. It makes you slow down. That's really smart. That's a really good observation. Absolutely. And it's I think to be honest, it's kind of the the park in Orlando that I have the most kind of beautiful moments in attractions memories.
Sure.
Versus the other parks where I have more memories with friends. Right.
Interesting.
Not that I didn't have memories with friends at Animal Kingdom. It's just off the top of my head, there's 3 or 4 very central moments for me in terms of seeing an attraction and being like, wow, or being moved by it, or seeing something I've never seen before.
Yeah. And there is that, as much as they don't want you to treat it like a zoo, the thing about it is I can go see the country bears. They're going to do the same thing every time. But if I go to Animal Kingdom, all the animals do something different every time. Like, it is a much more, if you're willing to take the trails and you're willing to like look around, things are different every time. It's easily more refreshed than all the other ones. I think that's why people also like Epcot, is because Epcot doesn't refresh, but there's sort of that like vibe of chilling out, especially in World Showcase, that I think people kind of gravitate towards.
Because Magic Kingdom is not chill.
No. I would love to see some sort of like world food festival at Animal Kingdom, because it's made for it. It'd be really, really fun.
Do they serve like insect food?
No, I'm not like going full Temple of Doom here. It's not Snake Surprise.
Cricket flower churros.
Yeah.
You know what? I would bet you they would sell
They
it.
should do that. They should
Yeah,
do stuff.
it would
Yeah, they
sell.
should have a couple of menu items that are like, these are sustainable because they're made from bug protein, yada yada. I think it'd be great.
Yeah.
It fits in the mission.
Yeah, totally.
It's also the future, so get ready for it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, like one of my favorite moments ever in a theme park was on the safari when we encountered a giraffe standing in the road and that we just stopped, and we were there for like, and it was a road it was on that way down into the savannah, so it was this tight turn and near the
I've
baobab
gotten
tree.
stuck at that exact spot.
Yeah, right. And we were there for like half an hour.
Yeah.
And the giraffe was super curious and kept coming down and looking at everybody and then eventually made its way. And you're like, life finds a way. This is what I wanted out of this experience.
Yeah, the safari is weirdly the only ride that if it quote unquote breaks down, it's usually a fairly enjoyable experience. Like weirdly, you're like, oh, I got to be on it longer. How great!
Yeah, it's like, oh, sweet, we lucked out.
Yeah, as long as you're not like farther back and you're just like on a trail.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure. Well, that is Walt Disney World for this episode. We're gonna head on over to the West Coast, and Janine is gonna take us through the West Coast, talk a little bit about Disneyland, and she's gonna bounce way off of the West Coast. She's gonna keep going west, and she's gonna hit Japan and Beijing as well for Universal Studios. So, Janine, what's going on in Disneyland recently?
Disneyland is spitting in the face.
They say gay.
Of the
they say
gay. Disneyland is spitting in the face of the people who are shouting at Disney World, particularly, but Disney as a whole. They are going above and beyond, in my opinion, and doing an official Disney After Dark Pride Night event. That's a separately ticketed Pride Night celebrating the community and allies with themed entertainment and characters with costumes that are specific to the event.
I know. It's great.
Line dancing.
This is a Stefan bit, basically. This is the hottest club.
The hottest club is Disneyland After Dark Pride Night. Yeah,
themed photo backdrops and a bunch of different dance parties, a specific cavalcade, just the works. I think it's fantastic. I love that there's a 3-hour commingling period.
Yeah,
I love that. It's June 13th and 15th. I just think it's great. I'm
and
sure
they announced. We know when they announced this, right? It was right after DeSantis' press conference.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
they
just
dropped
spitting in the face.
I mean, they've been working on it forever. Like just to go back in history a bit for people who don't know, gay night at Disneyland back in the first of all, they used to kick people out for being gay at Videopolis in the 80s, and there was a couple of gay couples who were in the early 80s who were kicked out just for like holding hands. They have a sordid history, right?
Yeah.
But starting in the late 80s into most of the 90s, there was a local LGBTQIA travel company here in Southern California called Odyssey Adventures, and they did packaged travel things for gay folk, and they used to rent out the park. And so gay night for years in my 20s was, it's once a year and we get the park to ourselves, and it's a ticket event just like this. Right. It's just that Disney didn't own it, right? They allowed it to happen for sure. It was what they call a corporate buyout, and corporate buyouts happened all the time at Disneyland back in the day. Like Microsoft could rent the whole place for a company party, basically. And they stopped doing that when DCA opened. It was a big sweeping change, no more corporate buyouts. So Gay Day had already been happening in Florida as what they call the mix-in, right? Where it's just people showing up in red shirts. And that all started online in the late 90s with people, Disneyland fans chatting and saying, meet me at the park, I'll wear a red shirt so you can find me. It was a grassroots thing, and now it's this big event. The same that transferred over to Disneyland in the early aughts because they stopped doing the buyout. Odyssey stopped doing their party, and so our mix-in has been exactly the same as Florida's for years, and has turned into a bigger event. And Disney has acknowledged it, and they make special menus. So it's not like they've not acknowledged Pride, especially in the last, especially in the last 5 or 10 years. The Disneyland Gay Days in October, now late September, actually are big, and Disneyland embraces that money. It's like, this is all capitalism. But I think this is really a huge step for them. Even with all of that history, this is a huge step for them to be the author of it, if you will.
Totally.
Because when I remember early days of the mix-in events, they used to stage gay employees, gay cast members at near the ticket booths at the entrance, looking for, frankly, straight dads who are unwittingly wearing red shirts, and offer to give them a shirt. They used to do that. They used to have a little sandwich board up at the entrance that said, just so you know, this is an unofficial event happening today, and gay employees would be there to answer questions and give refunds. Like,
wow.
That's literally 20 years ago, early aughts, like not that long ago.
No.
So this is pretty cool. I'm probably not going to go, because as a Magic Key holder, it's like, I don't want to spend another $140, but for people who aren't pass holders, I think it's great.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see here. Oh, speaking of things they'll probably be able to check out when they're there, we got a fancy new thing going on in Tomorrowland. What's that all about, Janine?
Yeah, Disneyland. The DVC Lounge in Tomorrowland is opening up. Let's see, it just opened this week, right? So it is the Starview Station. It is the new lounge. It's honestly very beautiful. And, Nathan, you said earlier that you hate concept art. I was looking into the concept art that they released for this, and this is pretty much right on point to the concept art.
Well, it's generally, yeah. I mean, if your concept art is walls and decor, it's usually pretty accurate. If it's attractions, it's never accurate. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And what's funny is this place is just loaded with, if you remember or have been to the Contemporary recently, what's the new restaurant? It's not even new anymore, but I'm totally blanking on the Contemporary's restaurant. But anyway, that restaurant has a ton of this kind of like concept art use. And they have a lot of beautiful old concept art in this lounge as well, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous, space age, mid-century modern.
Steakhouse 71, by the way, that's what I was talking about.
I was just looking it up, trying to,
which is a great place. I love that place.
I think it's really pretty. I mean, first of all, this is a building that is in the long term, not long for this world.
Yeah,
they've been trying to figure out what to do with it forever, and it was Interventions for a while, and then it was Star Wars before Galaxy's Edge opened. It was a trading post kind of thing, but like
because this was Carousel Progress.
This was the Carousel of Progress. Yes, it was.
And then as you mentioned, Interventions utilized the rotating stages still, which was really cool.
Yeah, to get you in and out of it, they actually rotated you. You would group a group, and then it would move to an opening, and then you'd walk in. It was kind of cool. It was like they couldn't rip it out, so they might as well use it. And then that stopped working, I guess. And it was like, let's just lock it in place. So until that building gets knocked down, this is just like, hey, how can we monetize this space? And my favorite part is all the memorabilia. Like it's got the old spacesuit, the old spacesuits that the Disneyland astronauts used to walk around in, the K-7 spacesuits, which are really funky and 50s.
I wasn't super aware of the context of that. That's really cool.
Yeah, they used to walk around the park, and not in my era. This is back in the 50s, but like, and then one thing that you can still see, the Space Station S1 model. It's from the old Disneyland television series, sculpted by Wathel Rogers, who was a legendary Imagineer. Yeah. And it's the actual prop he built, which is kind of cool. But
wild that it's in front of the bathroom.
I know. Yeah. It was previously on display at the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum. So I would call this a downgrade. Yeah,
just a little bit. Just a little bit.
The signage on the bathroom is gorgeous, though.
Yeah. There's some design details that are nice. I think it's a little bit of to my eye, it's kind of a hodgepodge of everything they've thrown at the Contemporary for the last 20 years. Like, how do you make the future anymore and make it colorful and contemporary? So it's a little all over the map for my taste, but the individual components they picked are really nice. I do like it.
Yeah, there's at least a consistency. We were talking about before we started the episode a little bit about at Epcot. There's one of these DVC lounges as well, and it's basically just the top floor above ImageWorks, and you know, it's fine. It's some seats, and you get, you know, if you, I knew a DVC member at the time, so you go up and we get gummy worms, and that was fun. It was always just nice to get free stuff at Disney. So
Air conditioning.
yeah, I mean, it was a great place for air conditioning.
Yeah.
You always just kind of looked at the walled off area where the you knew right behind it the rainbow tunnel was, and you're just like,
Right.
we've messed up. We've done this poorly.
Look what they've done to, look what they've done to my boy.
Yeah. So, but at least this has some real. I feel like they put some effort into this, and you know, there's
Someone had a little bit of fun with it.
well, and I like any time that Disney, and I feel like we've seen this a couple times now where, and I would certainly assume Imagineering is working with the archives. And anytime they do that and they come up with these neat, because if you look too, there's this cute little Mary Blair thing going on in one of the images as well. It's just these nice little touches. Some of these knickknacks feel very bought off of, you know, Pier 1.
There is a wall decor item that I own.
Yeah.
Well, and this probably, like, you know, this is
It's from Target.
Timeline wise, I would give this thing like 5 years or so, because they're gonna figure out what to do with Tomorrowland, and that building's toast, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nice. I think that's the thing. If you really look at it, it's all stuff that is purchasable and easily replaced. But I think that the idea of having a lounge up there, I was hoping it was like DVC and Magic Key, because we've got the Magic Key lounge over in DCA, which is actually quite lovely, but it's not that. So
I think that they should, I mean, Disney can barely contain its contempt for its annual pass holders. And so, like, to ask for access to a space like this is
I know.
Yeah.
Because we would take it up. We would take them up on it.
We would. We would
totally
just
would.
pack that place.
Yeah, it would be. We would really treat it like a Starbucks.
They've got, I mean, they've got Coke freestyle machines for free. Come on now, and the star curtain's a little chintzy, but they tried.
Star curtain.
Really? Okay, I have to see it in person, but it feels to me like, okay, that was probably designed to be projection and then value engineered at the last minute. But otherwise you're looking down into the empty part down below. So I understand why they had to do it. It's not pretty down there. It's probably all torn up.
Yeah,
it makes a pretty cheap way to, like, that maybe informs the entire design almost, because that allows them to really lean into the space theme, and that is a much cheaper option that for the money than like almost any other solution to that issue.
Yeah, that's true as well. Anyway, I'd recommend looking for the photos. WDWNT has some photos set up. Some other people do too. I think Blog Mickey does. We're checking out. So where are we? What's going on?
We're going to Japan.
We're going to Japan now? We're going to do some Universal stuff?
Yeah.
Tell us more about what's going on in Japan.
Yeah, Japan is getting in on one of the things that, in my opinion, Animal Kingdom does really well, which is take advantage of puppetry. Universal Studios Japan is introducing a bunch of magical creatures from the Harry Potter franchises as meet and greet puppets. And so there's three, I mean, I guess maybe four technically, so three separate types of critter three separate types of critter that you could meet. There's a classic baby dragon, little hatchling. There's a sniffler from Fantastic Beasts.
Niffler.
Oh man, I watched the first one. And
you were the one. Oh, you were the one. Okay, good.
Yeah.
The Niffler was the best part of it. So
yeah, it was.
Yeah. So anyway, a Niffler. My bad. Sorry. It's cute, I guess. I don't know. I think it's nightmare fuel. But I imagine some people like it. It looks horrifying.
They all look.
There's
they
one
all look
picture that I saw that's just
They all look a
like
little scary. They do look a little scary.
They're
I don't-
monsters, people. That's okay.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but in the movie, I recall it was at least a little cute.
Yeah.
And I am generally very forgiving with my like what's cute and what's not cute.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah, that's
not.
true. You're like a bug
That's-
person.
I'm a
so-
bug person and like critters and creepy crawlies and like that is just straight nightmare. And then there's pygmy puffs, which are little pink puff balls that sit on a very adorable cast member's shoulder, and you can take pictures with the critters and they move and interact with you. And I like that sort of thing. I don't love these specific ones, but I love the idea and the spirit, and I fully encourage them to do any park to do more of this stuff.
Yeah, I love the idea of bringing sort of sophisticated, sculpted animatronic or puppeted stuff closer to the guests. It's always magical. What I love about it is that they wrote little stories for each of those appearances. Like the guy with the Ukrainian Iron Belly dragon is like smuggling it and is looking out for horrors so he doesn't get caught, right? Like it's so they've given them in world, and from a brand perspective, this is a huge step, because when Potter opened, you were not allowed to have characters that were not on the page. Like you could not make up some guy smuggling in something, right?
Yeah.
And finally they've loosened the reins on that and allowing the place to breathe a little bit, and having characters like that are unique to the park, I think is really kind of great for a brand that is for a brand that is okay. JK's problematic stuff aside, is still a little burnt out, right? Like I was like you said earlier, Janine, I was burnt out on all this before she turned into a shitbag. So
Yeah.
but this injects some life. Like I hope these make it to California and Florida, because it was really cute. And if history serves, most of the stuff they developed for Harry Potter in Japan is like a testing ground of whether or not they can bring it here.
Yeah,
That's interesting. I wonder.
And
how that
they're far more
ends up being.
they're far more unified, Universal in Japan and Shanghai. I mean, my thing is, like, I love this kind of stuff, because if we are getting burnt out on I'm calling the Hogwarts stuff, like having anything that's part of the universe but not that, you can, in theory, you can run this land and not know anything about Harry Potter and still like it.
Yes.
Like, it's this kind of stuff allows that to happen.
Yeah.
Because you're not, I mean, the rides are very specific, especially here when you have Green that's like, hey, we're in the middle of a movie. Do you remember this? Like, it's if you don't know what's going on, it's a little confusing. But this kind of stuff is always in the overall decor and stuff has always been just sort of inviting, whether you like the franchise or not.
Also, I'm going to throw in here, as the parent of a formerly small child, now just child, this sort of thing is what makes the parks magical to bring your kid to, because I can see my son seeing this sort of thing and like really believing it. Like it still gets sold to them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And like the magic that's you can't get that anywhere else, and that's why you go to the parks.
Did you see that clip that when it was online today of the kids seeing little black boy seeing Captain America at Avengers Campus? Oh my goodness!
Yes.
And the performer came down to say hi to him and taught him how to practice flying. And oh my God, the waterworks! I was just weeping. It was so cute and wholesome, and we need more of that.
And that's really what this is like.
Yeah.
There's a lot of adults who go to Disney, and we have a lot of opinions about Disney, but it's important to remember that like it's for families. It's not for us. It's for families to come and have a wonderful time. And there's an art to it, and it's important that we be able to have these discussions. I really love these sorts of discussions, but like don't lose sight of the magic of it.
What's everybody
seeing it through a kid's eyes? What's
everybody's earliest theme park memory? Because I know mine. Mine was sitting on Main Street watching the Main Street Electrical Parade when I was probably 75, 76. And that. The moment that Elliot the Dragon appeared in front of my eyes, because I was looking away when he drove up and turned off, And my earliest memory is looking at what is this big black nothing in front of me, and then all of a sudden, boom, Elliot appears. And again, as a kid, you're like, I don't care that it's made up of dots. This is Elliot. Right, like and it was my favorite movie of the time. So my first memory is a bit of very, very simple magic in a parade. But
it
you're
doesn't
exactly
have
right.
to be a lot for kids.
No,
like,
no, not at all.
No.
Yeah, I love that. What about you,
Nate? I have some memory of meeting Pluto. I was obsessed. I didn't want to leave. But I have a weird sort of like, my first memory is just movement and color. Like I was very, very young, and I just remember moving towards us like in a certain way, and color being in a certain way. And I think my brain has tried to make it something like, for a long time before I was really into Disney stuff, I thought, was this a Ludwig von Drake color thing that I remember? Like, what was this thing? Like, I couldn't figure it out. I just sort of surmised it was Carousel of Progress. Like, I thought, okay, I'm moving. Okay, we'll say that's what it does. And then I finally watched Delta Dreamflight, and I was like, that was it. That was it. There's no way it wasn't that. And I don't have any proof. I've looked at we have the maps and things. It was there. we have no photos of me there. And my parents are like, they don't remember that kind of stuff. But it is funny how I'll like interrogate them. I don't really care who my great grandmother was or what country we were founded from. But I'm
what
like,
was my first
when we
ride?
went the first time, what did I do? But I think that's my first. I think it's just, I remember being very comforted. I remember being very like overwhelmed in that good way. And yeah, I think that's a wonderful thing, and that's what you should. I will add here, and I think I've said this story on the podcast before, which is my favorite story, Disney related, which is exactly connected to this, which is I was in Philhar Magic, and Donald went through the screen, and his butt is in the wall in the back, and this kid looks at it and then turns to his mom and goes, "It's real. It's all real." And it's just the best. There's nothing better than that. You can just, okay, I'm done. The park's done. We're done for the day. Like, it's the best thing you can have.
I'm gonna give you an example of the opposite. I was walking out of a show at Disneyland once, and it was the Fantasyland Theater, the big outdoor one.
Mm-hmm.
And it was when Pocahontas was out. So this is back in the 90s. And this Pocahontas show had this lovely little grandmother willow thing. They did confetti that was autumn colored leaves that went over the audience. It was a lovely little show. I'm leaving, and there's a family in front of us, and obviously the kid asked, "Dad, what does it mean when they say paint with the colors of the wind?" Because Dad's response was, "The wind ain't got no color, son. It's transparent." I mean,
oh man, that guy's gonna go fly a kite. Like, boy.
Yeah, you just killed his understanding of metaphor. Like that poor child.
Yeah,
you had a teachable moment there.
And then that child grew up to be a Republican. Started there. Practical. Yeah. Janine, what about you? Do you remember your first memory?
It's hard for me because I feel like my first memory is, I don't remember firsthand.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But like, I've seen the home video so often that like, that is the first memory that I have, even though it's third person. Cause like I went one time when I was like under 2, and that's the memory that I have. And then I started going a bunch when I was like in my like 3rd grade to 5th grade years. Okay. And so I don't really remember what my first memory was. So like the first memory that when I think back to my early days at Disney is a home video of us. And I love this memory. So that's part of the reason, being at Epcot at night, and we're walking, somebody's pushing me in a green stroller through some of the like Future World. Is it Future World? Yeah. Uh-huh. Like that area, like kind of near like the Odyssey Pavilion, and someone has found a toad and put it on my lap in my stroller, and I'm screaming. And the video is just like lit by like the low like lights, and it's just me and a toad, and I'm not having it. But I just love that memory. We didn't live in Florida. We didn't have toads.
Just toads around.
Yeah.
And now you're like, toads welcome whenever you want to show up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Come
like
on, my lap,
sometimes you got to be
toads.
scared a little bit, and then you realize, oh wait, this is not so bad.
So, gang, if you want to have cool memories like that, you're more than welcome to take video and photo, but don't bring someone to do it for you if you're going to go to Studios Beijing. Janine, what has Universal Studios in Beijing done, which I think is a very interesting kind of solution to a, I would consider, a fairly new problem.
Yeah. So here's Beijing has an issue with people hiring professional photographers and probably, I would imagine, videographers to take professional photos and videos of them in the parks. That is now banned. I guess they sell like a authorized photography service that costs like $50. That is basically like PhotoPass. I will say that having been a professional photographer, this is already in play at Disney World.
Oh, sure. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. The other,
yeah.
all
like
other,
you're
all
not
other,
allowed to.
No, all other U.S. parks have a clause in the ticket that
Yeah,
the
you
ticketing
can't
agreement
do any commercial stuff.
Nothing for commercial use.
But
No.
apparently, like there were people who like it was their full-time job to just hang out at Beijing Disney and do photo shoots and make bank.
Yeah, it's not uncommon for the parks that I've been to in China. The lower end parks there, you would actually see people like roaming through the park trying to sell candy and balloons that were obviously not part of the park in the park.
Wow.
At Universal Shanghai in the little, whatever they call, little downtown Disney area out front, there were people all the time selling their wares. And it took them a long time to crack down on it because people kept saying, no, this is public space. And this is like, no, it's private land, which is not a thing in China. And so,
well, I mean, Disney Shanghai had the same problem.
Yeah.
Like right outside the park.
Yep. Right. So this is not surprising. They're just adapting, but it's because I bet you there's no equivalent to having an agreement on your ticket that you silently agree to. Do you know what I mean? Governmentally, that may not exist there really, so they have to make it more overt now.
Yeah, I mean, I think in China they just say we'll put you in jail.
Right,
Work camp for a month. Yeah.
They were revoking annual passes for photographers who.
Yeah, and you'll still see in the parks. The line is so murky now. I can do incredible things with my phone. Like if you knew what you were doing, you could probably.
I did an engagement session in Magic Kingdom once.
Yeah. I mean, you could even bring in a DSLR and they wouldn't quite.
I did it.
It's, what's funny now is I was just thinking about this the other day. Like I would love to take my parents' old VHS video recorder in and just do a day at the parks with the old thing. Yeah. The big old shoulder cam. And just hit the record and hit stop and hit record.
Do you know that that's a thing in the wedding industry now? People are charging like thousands and thousands of dollars to come record your wedding on a VHS.
That rules. That rules.
It rules, but it's so expensive.
Well, and that's so specific. God. That's going to be gone in like 3 years. Like that is our generation for sure.
Yeah. Because the digital filter version of it doesn't cut it.
It doesn't cut it.
You want the tracking on the tape and
yeah. It's the sound quality.
The time blinking in the corner. It's sound quality too, right? Right.
Yeah.
But I thought about that and I thought, you know what? I'm definitely getting stopped. Like I come in with basically something that size. They're going to.
I don't think so. If you're just filming your family.
No, they would be fine. But I think I would get questioned at some point about something, which is funny because you can walk around with a 360 camera on top of your head all day and no one will say a word. So.
Yeah, I don't think you would have an issue, honestly.
No, probably not. But it's so funny how the quality has gotten smaller and smaller. So it's just getting harder to recognize this kind of stuff. But yeah, it's not a shock there from Shanghai necessarily. But they are falling in line with kind of everybody else. Yep. let us move on, though. Thank you, Janine, for all that good information. Dave, you have been a busy bear recently, doing all sorts of stuff, getting that honey over at TEA, working hard.
Yep.
Will you tell the folks a little bit about the Inspire Conference? Also, let them know what TEA is if they don't know already.
Sure. The TEA is the Themed Entertainment Association. It is it is a networking and standards of excellence organization for all things themed entertainment, theme parks, attractions, museums, cultural attractions, live shows, immersive theater. All of that is fair game in for the TEA. And they're, in addition to doing conferences around the world throughout the year, they do a main conference that is used to be called the TEA Summit. Now it's called TEA Inspire, and it's part of the THEA Awards. And the THEA Awards are like, the simple way is to say the theme park Oscars, but it's not exactly the same because there's not discrete categories. It's the categories are sort of up to the governing body, of which I'm a part, by the way. I'm one of the judges, as it were. I'm on the judging committee, and I was chair of that committee in 2019 and 2020. Don't worry, I stepped out of the room when they voted for things like my Warner Brothers park. We're not allowed to vote. But it's a panel of people, and it's a lot of storied names within the industry. And Imagineers and Universal people, and so every year we go through a cycle of submissions and voting. We decide on a slate of awards, which then gets approved by the TEA board, and then it's not like the Oscars in that the people that get the award know far in advance, because many of these clients are overseas and have to make plans to travel. So they announce it at IAAPA in November the year before, and then the summit or the Inspire conference and the award show are in April, and it was just this past weekend, so I was there for the lot of it. And so nothing was new to me. I'd seen all the winners for months and months and months, but I call it nerd prom, because it is basically that. It is everybody thinks this is a big industry, but it ain't. It's actually pretty small compared to things like the movie industry or construction or any of that. It's just these are the places these things happen are small and usually one-off. And it's not just awarding the big projects, it's awarding some of the smaller ones that you probably haven't heard of. Like TEA has members all over the world, so people will submit, say, hey, I saw this thing, you have to look at it, right? Like my favorite thing that won this year. By the way, if people want to look at the awards program, it's available online.
Cool.
A site called issuu.com/Themed Entertainment Association, all one word. We'll post a link. I'll reply when we post this on Twitter, when we post the show, and I'll put it there. But you can actually look at the actual program, and you can see past years, and it's pretty fun for theme park nerds. You'll love it. But my favorite award was actually for attractions, is something called Absurdities Volume 1, and it's in Singapore, and it is an immersive theater dining concept. It's a multiversal dining concept, and it's not high tech. It's actually quite low tech. It's like 6 or 7 major scenic scenes, and you get food in each one that is themed to some weird thing. Like, for instance, there's one thing that's like a 1950s American kitchen, and they pour you a bowl of cornflakes, but it's not cornflakes. It's actually like deconstructed chicken pot pie, and the milk and the milk is actually like cauliflower, like puree. So it's all weird molecular gastronomy, strange takes on things in a very funny, experiential, Instagram friendly format. And the story behind it is even better. It's 2 people, it's a husband and wife, and that's it. Like, they made the whole thing.
Wow.
And so they won a THEA, and it's because one of our people on the judging committee, my friend Luke, who is an Imagineer, he was there and said, oh my God, we have to look at this thing, and it won. So that's the kind of thing. The other thing it does is the other awards or stuff, like Universal Studios Beijing won an award. I actually facilitated the discussion about that at the conference with
the How to Train Your Dragon.
No, the whole park.
Oh, the whole park one.
Yeah, right. But How to Train Your Dragon show won as well, as did the Jurassic World adventure, which is amazing. So
yeah,
the big ones like that. But then there's stuff that you've probably never heard of, like absurdities. There's a thing called the Irish Racehorse Experience, which is an interactive museum about racehorses in Ireland, and it's quite cool. A thing called Particle Inc. Speed of Dark, which is in Vegas, which is this incredible, what they're calling a mixed reality live performance. And it's basically live performance and map projection, but seamlessly integrated and choreographed to animation on the walls and things. Look it up. It's crazy. A thing called Quake, which is in Lisbon, and it's this interactive, immersive museum about a very, very historical, famous earthquake that happened back in like the 1800s or something, and they recreate it in a way, in an immersive way, and it's a historical deep dive on the city and how it affected the city and what the city's become since then. So very cool. Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser won, of course. Beaudry Interactive is a company that won. David Beaudry. They designed all of the talking costume stuff that you see in parks now. Cool. It's a system called DEVA. It's a behind-the-scenes real-time control of characters, and they innovated that. And so they won an award not for a particular project, but for their body of work. And then the other important awards are for people, the specialty awards. Like there's a Lifetime Achievement Award, and that went to Roland Mack, who is the owner of Europa Park in Europe. And they are also Mack Rides, the company Mack Rides. And so they're a 200-year-old company. That manufactured traveling carnival rides in Germany, and then they built a park which became kind of a showroom for their products, and now they're a world-class theme park. It's pretty amazing if you've never heard of it. Look it up. So very well deserved. They do a thing called the THEA Classic Award, which is sort of an attraction that stood the test of time. This year it was the Main Street Electrical Parade, which was fun. And then a really interesting award that's only popped up in the last couple of years called the THEA Catalyst Award. The Lifetime Achievement is a body of work, and what we realized as the voting committee back in 2019, 18 or 19, when I was on it, is frankly, it's a lot of old white guys. So we were like, how do we celebrate this diversity in this industry and encourage it more? And so the Catalyst Award is that. The Catalyst is recognizes individuals who've made an impact with the industry now or recently, without regard to the length of their career, and who is making a positive impact that inspires or empowers those that are making experiences like this. And the two winners this year could not be more deserving. They are one was with Disney and one is with the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago. Susanna Tubert, if you look her up, she's heads up entertainment at Disneyland Resort. She has a long history designing and directing on Broadway. She started a Latino theater festival in New York in the 90s that was incredibly well known and successful. And so she is the reason we have Festival of Holidays with all the diverse countries represented is because of her, right? So she's amazing. And then the other person who won is a woman named Chevy Humphrey, and she's the president and CEO of the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago. And she told a story about how, like, she got a field trip to the museum, living in Chicago as a kid, and then went home and realized that some of her less privileged neighbors had not. So she set up in her garage a school and would tell them all about the things that she learned when she was like 8 or 9 years old. And now she's doing that on a professional level and at an industry level at that museum, and making sure that their programs touch every child it can in whatever socioeconomic realm they're in. And so that's what the Catalyst Award is for. To me, it's the most important one of the ones of the year, and we've only been giving them out for about 3 years. So it's always exciting to see who they find and who we decide to celebrate. It's been a really incredible, diverse slate of people. So that's the THEAs in a nutshell. Go look at the programs if you want to know more about it. We do this every year. I've got at least another year or two on the awards committee. It's always fun. It is again, like I said, nerd prom. We always get dressed up and I see people I haven't seen in years, that I used to work with, that kind of thing. But it's a lot of fun.
Couple questions for you. There's I do have something people should know is if you have not, the program's amazing. You should check that out. But if you haven't watched How to Train Your Dragon, Untrainable, the show, you kind of need to watch it, or don't watch it, because it's gonna be at Epic Universe. I can almost guarantee it. So, there's probably no way it won't be. There's literally going to be a How to Train a Dragon land. So worth checking out. But question for you, and I think you and I have talked about this a little bit, but there's of course TEA, and then there is IAPA. And I think what you told me is IAPA is like everything you would need to build a park, and TEA is more creative based. Would you say that's accurate, or give people an idea of what is the partnership? Because clearly there's a partnership between the two, and how are they distinct from each other?
So IAPA is primarily for owner operators of parks and museums and attractions, right? It is a place where you can shop for new rides and shop for churro carts and lockers and all the things you need to put in a park. There is a small corner of IAPA that really only showed up in sort of the mid 90s. That is like the design groups, like the Thinkwells of the world, but Universal Creative and Imagineering don't have booths there. No. They're wandering the floors looking at stuff. But the TEA has a booth there, and so there's a small but mighty presence of TEA member companies at IAPA, and not all of them have booths there. Like when I was at Thinkwell for my entire run there, they don't have a booth because they. Honestly, they said if we do it one year and then do it the next, people think we've gone out of business, because it had happened with other companies. So they said, let's not do it and see where we get. And so now they get a conference room and and have meetings with clients, and they have a private reception with clients at a local restaurant. And that's what they do for IAPA. And so for design industries, IAPA is a place to meet your clients and possible clients from all over the world. Check off some boxes of what are the new things that I need to see in there. My favorite story about IAPA was the head of Warner Brothers, who we reported to in designing the Abu Dhabi park. I once got a email from his assistant saying, Stephen would like to meet with you at IAPA and walk the floor with you, because he had been told that I've been to IAPA a lot. I love walking the floor. I can show him all the cool stuff. And I had made up a list of things of, here's this, because there's not always cool stuff at IAPA. Sometimes it's the same thing every few years, but I had made a list of 5 or 10 things he's got to see. Right. And I quickly found out that it was not about seeing the new cool stuff. It was about, he had a sweet tooth, and it was about finding all the great ice cream and all the assorted ice cream products. And so
it is the best part.
It is the best part. So for like 7 or 8 years of me working on that park in his tenure before he retired, I got to spend an hour with this incredibly high-powered executive, but it was like walking around with your uncle. Like he was a mensch and a lovely man and so great. But I really realized, that's this is his break from business for an hour. I will absolutely facilitate that. Yeah. So that's IAPA.
It's beaver tails for him.
That's
why you're there.
Beaver tails and Dippin' Dots. Dippin' Dots is where those debuted. I remember when they debuted in the 90s. Like, what is this?
No way.
Yeah.
Oh man,
the TEA.
I'm constantly starstruck by it.
Stop it.
The origin
Dippin' Dots were like
the ice cream of the future.
Thing.
Yeah.
Man. Okay.
The TEA are the companies like Thinkwell and design firms, but also companies that build attractions, and engineering firms and lighting design companies, all the vendors and companies that go into making theme parks.
Sure.
Probably minus construction. It's mostly the creative end of things.
Right.
They are TEA member companies. Big scenic design companies, big lighting design companies. The parks themselves are members of the TEA. And that's kind of what's interesting too. When a project wins a THEA award, the owner operator gets it. It's not for the design firm. Like, yes, you can get one as a team member. I have one for my Warner Brothers park that I bought. But functionally, the purpose of the awards is kind of networking. It's kind of saying, hey, industry out there doing this, spend more money because we do it well. Right. Like it really is that. It's in a lot of ways, it's the way the Oscars started, right? People think it's this celebration when it was really the producers like, let's make more money in Hollywood by telling people to make more motion pictures.
That's still what it is.
I mean, it still is that, right? So, but there is merit, and there is so it's not a popularity contest. There is a very strict and storied and rigorous process that these go through that I'm a part of. And it is thrilling to sit in a room of people like, that you've grown up idolizing and imagineering for your whole life, and you appear at the table. I gotta say, I'm still the kid when it comes to that group. You know what I mean? And so the TEA represents the sort of soft cost side of the equation, the design, but also the vendor companies that actually build stuff.
Sure.
Right? That would be the difference between the two.
My only other question is, what was the hot goss at TEA this year? What are the I don't know the equivalent here, but like what is the hot tech that everyone's talking about, or the new story way of doing something? Like what's on everyone's lips?
Well, it's funny because every once in a while we'll have an award given. We give a technical award out every year, and Beaudry got that this year. But in the past, it's gone to Stuntronics, the yeeted Spider-Man, right? That
right.
won one year. Then a couple of times, the control systems that do something really cool on the back end that most plebes and fans wouldn't care less about, but was super important to us. Like that'll win. So it's rare though that there's like one thing. First of all, because everybody's under NDA, so if they're working on something cool, they can't talk about it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. I
really
find
funny.
that for me this year was amazing because the product I've been working on finally got released. By the way, go check out infiniterabbitholes.com.
Of course,
it's available for purchase and on the iOS store. But I haven't been able to talk about it the last two of these, and so here I literally was like showing people on my phone. Here it is. You can order it right now. It's a thing. But I would say the one thing, like technology, all the awards were very cool and stuff. A lot of stuff you've heard of, but a lot of stuff you probably aren't familiar with. The one that everybody went, okay, that's cool, is the guy that started The Void after that folded.
Right.
Came up with a new VR thing that is actually really good. It's called Jump. And it's only in one location right now. It's in Salt Lake City, but they're trying to go to other places. And it is a wingsuit skydiving sim that you get put in a wingsuit and you're cabled to this like cable-driven motion base above your head, and you put on the VR helmet, and it doesn't just pull you up slowly and start the experience. You literally have to jump.
Oh boy!
Like you are base
really fun.
Like you are base jumping.
Wow.
And it's not a movie. It's not canned footage. It is. They did high res scans of like 10 square miles, and then
that's cool.
And
so
through
your body turns into like a video game controller.
It is a giant base jumping video game in fully immersive VR, and I cannot wait to do it. It looks
I want to do that.
It looks terrifying, and I can't wait.
That's great. That's wonderful. Well, let's talk about things that are also terrifying, but in different ways, as we leave news and go to our favorite segment, Beware Our Guest. Now, Dave, let's talk a little bit about certain shenanigans at Epcot. Harmonious barges are gone. They are no more. No more harmonious, but things were not so harmonious in last December. We just got the police report.
No.
So what happened?
Oh my goodness. So there was another audience brawl at Epcot, brawling over the spot they wanted to stand in to watch. I guess it was from Harmonious because it was back in December, right? Yeah. And it wasn't. The incident report wasn't filed until now, which is why it's suddenly hitting the WDWNT. But like, as Harmonious was going on, there was a physical altercation. It was a woman from California and another woman from Pennsylvania, and the woman from Pennsylvania seemed to be blocking them during the show, and then elbowed someone else into the group, and it escalated, and then one of them lunged and scratched the other, and at a certain point, one person, the California woman, tried to pull her relatives and her family away from this woman from Pennsylvania, and as she pushed this woman from Pennsylvania away, that woman named Emily bit the California woman's middle finger and proceeded to kick and yell and scream, and a meaty portion of her middle finger was missing because this woman bit it off. So,
times.
this is this is what you get when you have a park that's centered around booze. So
Yep.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying this is what you have to deal with every once in a while because people are idiots.
I'm saying it's a bad thing. Not only is it a bad thing, it might be the complete opposite of what the park was made for. But that's neither here nor there.
Well, and of course, Emily denied doing anything wrong. She said she was beat up by multiple people. She said she was the one beat up and doesn't know why she's the one in handcuffs. And she's being restrained because she's making comments about hurting herself in her uncontrollable manner. So she was Baker acted, as I was educated on today by you two,
right?
Which for involuntary hold.
Yeah, it's involuntary hold in Florida that certain law enforcement or therapists can do if someone is potentially going to harm themselves. So, yep, good times. This is what you want. That was in December, so like some good Christmas vibes for everybody. We're going back to Asia. There's stuff going on in China and then also in Tokyo. What's going on in China? We got basically these are kind of connected stories in a weird sort of way from opposite ends of the spectrum, sort of. But this Chinese one is very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, obviously in China, you have a lot of knockoff merchandise, right? That's known. This isn't a secret that there's a lot of fake Louis Vuittons and that applies to Disney, right? There's fake Disney merch. Well, this guy and his wife were selling basically fake Duffy and Friends plush, which are highly, highly sought after because you can only get them at the park. And he was getting fake ones and selling them on TikTok. And he made, over the course of about a year or two, he made almost $500,000 US. That's and crazy. So, and it was just blatant. Like they were blatant copies. And
they look pretty good, to be honest.
They're not bad. Yeah, they're just priced really cheap. And so, what's interesting from a business perspective is that this is the first time the Mickey Mouse symbol has been affirmed as a trademark in a criminal case involving IP. So this may start in China. Yeah. In China. So when I was there,
anywhere, because I can't imagine IP infringement being criminal here. That's like a strictly civil thing.
Yes,
right?
But it's civil and it's usually cease and desist. But I think being China,
it's a different. They have
it's a different thing, and that they were put in prison for 22 months and fined about 115 grand US. But like, it's very interesting to me because when I was there in 2016, right out in front of the park, there were people selling fake merch. So it's known. And it's probably at the beginning was very hard for them to control, but I bet now that the park is such a success, Disney can say, "Hey, government, help us out here."
Right.
And so I think it would be very interesting to see what the knockoff market will be like after this case.
Yeah, absolutely. They'll all be over. They'll all be making minions. Yeah. But so that takes care of that. But on the opposite side. What about in-park shopping in Tokyo? What's going on?
This one is so creepy and weird and so not Japanese. Like it feels so not cultural to that. It's just odd.
Yeah. If someone told me this was an American doing this in Tokyo, I would 100% believe them.
Sure. So we all know the Disney resellers who go to the parks and try to stock up on things and resell online. All the parks have been trying to crack down on it and by a per guest limit for certain high demand items or new items or limited time or whatever. But the resellers have been trying to find a way around that. And one of them, because your children count as a guest, they brought a fake baby into the park, dressed up in clothes so you could barely see that it was real or not, and would literally like pose it next to them standing in line as they were making a purchase. And getting away with it, evidently, for a little while.
I assume it was in a I assume it was in a carriage of some sort.
I think that it said both.
The article says both, which I think was a mistake. If you're just carrying that baby in a freaking baby carrier, they will. I recently saw.
I watched some Red Letter Media material on YouTube, and they have this obsession with buying old baby Bink animatronics from the film Baby's Day Out.
Oh God!
And that's exactly what this looks like. Is like just a freak stunt baby.
Yeah,
for
so
stunt purposes.
it was reported on Twitter, and that's how they got caught. But it's not the first time either at that resort. They were somebody was using a smaller, younger baby doll
Crazy.
in August of last year for the same purchase. So for the same purpose. But yeah, it's insane. I mean, you know, people gonna grift. Everybody's got a side hustle. I get it, but like, this is just beyond the pale to me. It's just gross.
Yeah, it's bleh.
The
Bleh.
one that they used in 2022 was like a reborn doll that like it's one of those dolls that are like hundreds of dollars that are made to look
Oh, yeah,
as
I'm looking at the
much like
photo
a baby
now.
as possible.
like your dead child. It's like you're bringing it back to life.
I have a
very artificial
deranged
intelligence.
aunt who is estranged, but a deranged, estranged aunt.
A deranged, estranged aunt.
Yes, who
You're
makes
deranged,
those
estranged.
and also like dresses them to match her and carries them around. And
looking,
stuff.
there's a photo on the article it's linked to where that baby looks really
It
creepily
looks
real.
Real. This
Yeah.
baby looks like Nathan. You nailed it. Like it looks like a creepy, cheap stunt baby.
Yeah, it's a stunt baby.
Yeah,
maybe it was a stunt
Yeah.
baby. Maybe this is a baby mink. Maybe, who knows? I just can't get strange, deranged. Deranged, estranged. Aunt coming to Disney Plus.
She's on YouTube. She has a YouTube channel.
Okay, we're gonna have to send me that.
Yeah,
You're
I'll
gonna have to
find
send me that. I got it. Gots to see that. Gots to see that. So anyway, we're going to, of course, end this episode with I keep saying it's our favorite segment because all our segments are our favorite segments, but we love our good friend, the Astuter Computer.
That's why I'm a router for the computer. Everybody needs a friend.
Okay, let's see here. Astuter Computer, hello. I'd love my poem of the week. Can you create one based on, let's say, all this DeSantis news? But let's talk about the getting the finger cut off. That sounds good, and maybe those new cabins at Fort Wilderness. I think all those sound good. What can you do? What can you do about that, Astuter? All right, let's see. Okay, the Astuter Computer says the poem of the week is, in a world of magic and wonder, where dreams come true and hearts ponder, there's a place where joy and happiness unite, and troubles are left outside, day or night. But even in this enchanted land, there are events that leave us stunned and unmanned, like when Disney fires back against a state, or when a guest's anger turns to hate. A woman lost a piece of her finger, it seems, over a dispute about Epcot's firework dreams. And yet, amidst the chaos and strife, a new development brings hope to life. 350 new cabins, it's true, will grace Fort Wilderness through and through. In 2024, they'll be ready to host and provide a respite to those who need it most. So even when news may seem bleak and moments of joy are hard to seek, remember that the magic is still alive, and in Disney, happiness will always thrive. So,
Dave is
I'm cracking up, like
dying.
I'm dying. I love, first of all, Astuter Computer. I love you so much because of how optimistic you are.
Yeah,
we spend an hour and a half in this show off, snarking on things, and you come in and just tie this big candy red bow on top of it and send me to bed with a kiss. I just
it's
love
a nice
you,
lesson
Astuter.
learned.
It is. It's lovely.
Yeah, it's you gotta, it's an empathetic old computer, it's been around, it knows. Very wise, thank you, Astuter. Before we finish off tonight, though, we want to put some vibes out there, good vibes to Victoria, who couldn't be with us tonight, but she is doing something really, really cool you should check out. You can find her at Twitter at He Calls Me PP, which stands for Pineapple Princess, and she has a whole link there to her AC, I think it's AC, it's like an events,
American Cancer Society.
Yes, it's for the American Cancer Society, their events, acsevents.org.
She's
so
running the
link.
marathon.
Yes, she will be. Does she say which marathon she's running? I can't remember.
I think she's doing like a 5K or.
That sounds correct.
Maybe something a little higher than that. I don't remember.
Yeah. So she's got some time here to get her money together, but she would love for all you rats to donate a little bit.
Half marathon.
Half
Sorry.
marathon.
That's,
Yeah,
I
half
was like,
marathon.
5K is like, no.
Yeah.
Half marathon. That's hardcore, Victoria.
Yeah, that is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as
Good
you
for her.
know, all this money that she raises will go to the cancer charity unless she doesn't run the whole marathon. And then we give people cancer with this money. That's how it works. So make sure she's going to do her best to get through the whole run. But you can, of course, provide her information. You can find her at Twitter at He Calls Me PP. And that stands for Pineapple Princess. And there's a link there to her American Cancer Society page. So feel free to do that. And they also give you a link to donate via mail by check. So grandmas who are listening to a podcast but don't know how to give money online, you're all good. So check that out. And of course, with that, ladies and gentlemen, Rat Castle is produced by yours truly, Nathan Hartman. I'd like to thank my co-host this evening, Dave, and I'd like to say I just like completely lost my spot on the thing. I was like reading credits and then I like completely lost it. My cursor went schwomp like that. Try that again. I'd like to thank my co-host, of course, Dave, and of course, the lovely Janine, both who have provided wonderful insight tonight. And of course, you can subscribe and tell your friends about the podcast. We have been here over a year now. We ain't going nowhere. We are your constant bi-weekly podcast, featuring some people who are bi and are here every other week. So that's why it's bi-weekly. Perfect for your enjoyment. So leave questions. You can leave questions. You can buy merch. You can do all this stuff at bit.ly/ratcastle. That'll get you all our fun links. We have a mailbag. You can send us questions, as we said. You can give us a rating on Apple. We would appreciate that. Yeah, all that said, grab your belongings and exit to the left.
Will you stop this foolishness?
What foolishness would you like to see?
Will you get out of here?